All right, it's awesome to have a few minutes with my guy, Charles Kelley. All y'all know that gorgeous voice. All y'all know that stunningly handsome face. He is one of the great vocalists in country music. What else can I say to butter you up
Man, I'm
before we
buttered.
start chatting? Well, I'll tell you what, that hat is dope too, by the way.
Man,
That
I
hat is
know.
awesome.
I love this thing. I love this
That's
thing.
that one's, I remember, what year was that? It wasn't this year, was it?
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Was
I mean,
it?
they might have made it before, but I got this year. Yeah,
Man,
yeah,
that thing is sweet. So
yeah.
you and I have discussed before the fact that you're an Augusta, Georgia native, born and raised within the Masters mystique. But the folks on my podcast don't know all of this. So to me, it's fast. Everybody, like the Masters and Augusta National, are bucket list moments, items, destination for anybody who loves sports. You don't have to love golf.
Yeah.
If you love sports and you love the lore and you love tradition and pageantry and history and all of it, the Masters is the epicenter. And
Yep.
so when you grow up in it, how do you perceive it as someone who was born in it?
I mean, it was the thing. I mean, we talked about it when we were hanging out down in Augusta. I mean, I just assumed that every golf tournament was run that way. I assumed it was that big. Like the whole PGA Tour was like run like the Masters, and there's just nothing like it. I mean, it's just the excitement and also to the respect I think that the fans have when they're there. And it's not, as much as I love like the Phoenix Open, it's a completely different environment than that, and I hope it always stays that way, But no, growing up there, I mean, the whole year pretty much revolves around that week. I mean, everybody, especially those months leading up to it, like we used to rent our house out for Masters every year, so it was like cleanup time to get all the all the crap out of our rooms and put the drum set away and into the basement and things like that, and just get it dialed in for that week, get the yard ready, and just a whole lot of anticipation. So yeah, it's a big deal.
And speaking of the drum set and putting the drum set away, the coolest thing that I learned during our conversation down there in April was the impact that you guys renting your home during the week or 10 days leading up to the Masters had on your career and your dream as a musician. Share that with us.
Yeah, but so my mom was a single mom, and I mean, super close with both my mom and dad, but she was a single mom, and I had put together this kind of makeshift little drum set. We had one of these little, I can't remember where I got it, this little electric little snare drum thing, and so then I started taking like the popcorn boxes, where they got the 3 different popcorns, and I put like a trapper keeper plastic thing over it, duct taped it, and that was my one of my tom drums. And then I had like these plastic little plates that I put together as my hi-hat, and I was so proud of it. And my mom, unbeknownst to me, had like tore it all apart, to get ready for the Masters and get the house ready. And I came back and just like absolutely lost my mind, was so upset. And so after we rented the house out and she got her check, she goes, "Get in the car." And she bought me a set of drums and bought my brother electric guitar and amp. And I mean, within a couple months we had started our first band, and a couple years later I think I was 14 at the time, made our first little record. And so it just, I mean, there's so much about that golf tournament that kick-started our career.
What was that first band called?
Our first one was Spork, and we would wear at KFC, they got the spoon and the fork, and we wore Spork necklaces in middle school.
Would you take some fishing line and hang one from your?
And that lasted one day until everybody made fun of us, and so we stopped that. And then when I was 14 or 15, we had a band called Inside Blue. We were really into blues, and again, just coming up with a name that we thought sounded different and interesting, and so we had that. We actually made a little 5-song demo, and we even had it was kind of cool because I was playing drums and singing, and we even had James Brown's manager which is another connection at Augusta, of course. It's the home of James Brown and the home of the Masters. And James Brown's manager at the time even tried to sign us, but he wanted to turn us into a boy band. He goes, "We're gonna get y'all in matching suits," and it was like, dude, no, we're kind of wanting to do a little bit more like the Hootie and the Blowfish type of thing. So, anyways, it was a huge part of kind of kickstarting our love of music.
Charles, you're an ingenuitive guy, man. The custom drum set, the sport necklace, and then I see this creation of a sandwich that you do at Augusta with Marty, and I can't even wrap my mind around it. So I'm going to give you the floor. Deconstruct this thing for our listeners and explain how you put it together.
Well, it's I like to save myself for when I get there. Don't eat any breakfast or anything, because the food, not only is it so amazing, it's really cheap. And so the breakfast of champions, as you go in, you get your ham and cheese on rye, and you get you an egg salad sandwich. And you take the bread off the top of each of those things, and you mash them together, and then you get your cold beer. And I'm telling you, there's absolutely nothing like it. And what I like to do too, so I don't have to go back through the line, is I stick an extra ham and cheese in the back pocket, and it gets nice and warm and moist. Oh God. Yeah, everybody loves that word. And
yes, it's a great word.
So then you got that kind of look forward to, an hour or two later. And it's something my brother John Kelley created, and he's a freaking genius. It's perfect. But I will say, Marty, weren't you talking about maybe doing the pimento cheese in the egg salad?
Yes.
That could be another winner. But that's a lot of goo. That's a lot of
goo, man. You need some substance in there.
Yeah, that's one too many goos.
The reason, it just means you need 2 cold beers.
Exactly.
You got to go 2 cold beers, and I think you and I made it to 3 in about 15 minutes.
We did.
And gosh, that was a fun day. That was really fun.
It really was. It was a blast. I could have stayed out there all day. I did once. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say I did after we got done filming that day. I stayed out there the rest of the day with my buddy, and we had such a good time. It really is hard not to, go through 5 or 6 beers as because you're walking it off. You're running around the golf course, and they're like $2. Who's gonna turn down a $2 beer?
I have said, and I've said this to actually Fred Ridley as well, that I believe if the country were run more like Augusta National, we wouldn't have a lot of the problems we have. And this is what I mean. If you're walking around Augusta National and one of those green sandwich wrappers happens to be blowing across the property, people run to pick it up and put it in the trash can because the reverence for the grounds permeates the people.
Yep.
You're also not living life through an iPhone screen.
Mm-hmm.
You're living life through the beautiful film strip of your mind. And you're fellowshipping with the people that you're there with. You are immersed together and not distracted because you damn sure can't be distracted. I wish so much more of the context of my life in the broader scope could be kind of that energy, as it were.
It really is. It's special, and something like you said too. You don't even have to love golf to appreciate that. I took our guitar player Slim out there one time. He doesn't know a thing about golf, doesn't care, and he goes, "I could just sit out here all day and just appreciate, the atmosphere and the beauty of it." But I'm with you. There is, like you said, everybody comes in with this level of respect, for the golfers, for each other. And there is something about it that just sets everybody in a perfect mood. But man, the no cell phones is key. That there is nowhere else in the world for me. Even when I'm on the golf course, that's why I like walking when I can on the golf course with a caddy, because I put my phone in the bag. But when I'm in a cart, it's just after every shot I come in, let me check my phone. Check my phone, and there's not many places like you can be out there, and you're just free, man.
I have wanted to ask so many of you guys who are buddies of mine that are accomplished artists, who are accustomed to playing in front of 10, 15, 20,000 people, right? That's y'all's normal operating procedure. However, no matter how accomplished you are in your career, no matter how wonderful the work that you produce is, when you are playing it live, invariably, I imagine you see this in your crowd. Like, at what point do you get used to, okay, that's just life. They're not paying attention to me right now. But we're gonna sing our ass off and make them pay attention to us.
Yeah, it is what it is. I mean, people are coming there. They pay good money. They can enjoy it however they want. But there are moments that it is kind of like, gosh, just be in the moment. But it also can create some great moments. One of the new things that now I feel like a lot of shows do is have a moment where everybody puts the light up on their cell phone, and that's always special. We do that with some of our ballads, but it is. I mean, I think I've got a little 6-year-old boy, and he's already on his iPad all the time because we travel so much, and I'm like, goodness gracious, where is this heading? Where is this technology heading? Because it definitely is probably a reason half of us are as anxious as we are, and there's a big kind of anxiety spike, it seems like, in the world.
No doubt.
I saw on your Instagram you played golf with Kevin Kisner. I'm sure you've played with a few guys on the tour. What's the best tip you've gotten from those guys? Or do they even bother?
Oh, gosh. I mean, Kiz, he always busts my chops out there because, I'm 6'6", and I should absolutely crush the ball. But I hit it okay, but I dip a little bit, and he actually got me with his coach Tillery for a couple days before.
He's a good dude.
But yeah, really fun dude. And he tried to square me up, and I left there thinking I was like, oh man, this is gonna be amazing. And I did a practice round, and I mean I could barely break 90, and I went back to my homemade swing, and we ended up making the cut that year. And so I was like, you can't change these old habits. These are just, they're old habits I have. But Kiz will tell you, I mean, his probably biggest piece of advice for me is just to keep drinking, because the more I drink, the better I am. And I'm out there, and the only other guy I've seen drink as much as me on a golf course is probably Wayne Gretzky. He gets destroyed out there. But I have to have some swing lube. I mean, I literally would. Kiz stayed with us this year, and I wasn't really drinking on that. It took me about 3 months of not drinking. Of course, we missed the cut this past year, so I'm not going to say it was a coincidence. But the year before, when we made the cut, I would wake up, and I had a couple of my buddies in town, and if we had a tee time at 8:30, I'd wake up at 6 o'clock, and I'd go through a couple screwdrivers, and we'd play Pig, this little dice game, Pig. It's pretty nasty. And so I got this video. I'll have to send it to you and find you. I mean, it's like 6 a.m, already drinking a screwdriver, gambling and dice. It was like, but it got me in the mindset of just go out there and have fun. But that's usually what Kiz always says is just, make sure you come prepared. And he doesn't mean hitting golf balls. He means come prepared and have a good buzz on.
When Toy Story 3 came out, did you and your brother feel like you'd been copyright infringed when all of a sudden there was Forky?
Forky, yes.
Everywhere.
Yes, the spork. Oh, man. Yeah, that band didn't last long. We had a couple gigs, and gosh, I can't remember too. We had some guy that he was like, we didn't know what we were trying to do. We were trying to be like Nirvana, and he was like, screaming the whole time, and it was brutal. So Spork lasted 2 gigs.
One band that has certainly lasted is Lady A. You guys are it's tremendous the career that you built, and I mean you've done it all. You got Grammys all over your shelf, you got platinum records all over your shelf, you got nine-time platinum singles. I mean, it's on and on, right? The dream. What are you proudest of?
I think longevity. I mean, that's always been our goal. I think you kind of get to a point now, we're 15 years in, that you're not going to be the newest thing. And we've had plenty of ups and downs in our career. I mean, it was, the irony is at our height of our career and the hottest we ever were, just after Need You Now and touring all over the place, we were moving so much and we weren't really connecting as a band because we were just so stressed out and everybody's just moving the next show. next TV performance, next this. And we felt so worn out that was probably, ironically, the most unhappy I've been. And it's almost afterwards that you can look back at it and appreciate the ride that you've been on. But the three of us just respect each other so much. You know, we all have families now. And I think the thing I'm most proud of is like, I mean, just the other day, like we're putting together the tour, and Hillary's like, well, that's Isley's last day of school. I want to be there for it. And then somebody else like, well, I really want to go on this. You know, Dave's had his 40th birthday, and he was like, I'll go into South Africa to do this. And it was like, you know, we had a couple shows we could have done. And in the past, we probably would have gotten griped at each other about it. And now it's like, hey, man, this is part of that balance of career and family and life. And I think that's why, you know, hopefully we can be doing this for a long time. And just try not to put pressure on trying to compete with the new hottest thing. Just stay true to what we do. And it feels like we're in a nice groove right now, you know. And I'm just proud of the catalog that we've built. You know, we've got an hour and a half to 2 hours of a show full of singles. And, you know, we grew up. Or not when we grew up. When we started, we were opening up for like Tim McGraw and Keith Urban and Kenny Chesney. And I was like, gosh, if we can just get to a spot where our whole show, people are singing along, and it finally feels like, you know, we're there. And I'm pretty proud of that.
How long did it take Hillary to understand you and Dave's love for the Georgia Bulldogs? Because that's a different kind of desperation. And up until this past winter, different kind of depression.
Man, I will say I was so afraid. I didn't go. Dave went to the game. I didn't go intentionally because I had gone to the previous one, and I was like, I'm very superstitious like that. I said, I'm watching this from home. I'm not going. I don't want to jinx them. I don't want to be disappointed. And gosh, I wish I was there so bad. But man, if we had not won that game, I don't know if we. It just feels like that monkey would have been on our back forever of just being so close. But it's a pretty fun thing. I mean, Dave and I, even a lot of the shows we'll have to be on stage during the game, and we'll have our tour manager sitting on the side. You know, it's like 7-0, and I'm like, it's like, it's us, Dogs up, and you know, we'll get those constant updates and stuff. I know Darius Rucker was on tour with us, and he had a South Carolina game on a little monitor by the stage, like on an iPad, and I was just I mean, he's way more obsessed with sports than I could ever be. But yeah, the Dogs, man. Dave and I both went to Georgia, graduated in 2004, and that's kind of where Kevin Kisner and I, kind of friendship began too as well. And it's just a great place. To feel like connected to, and I think we're going to have a strong team for a long time.
You are not the only world famous Georgia Bulldog fanatic. I will be driving down the highway and my phone will ring, and it will be Red Akins.
Oh,
and
yeah.
He will have questions about the most obscure recruit who's in the ninth grade in Anchorage, Alaska. And I'm like, dude, not everybody is sick like you. I've never heard of this guy.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, damn. And he, too, chose against going to the national championship because he was terrified that he was going to be the jinx.
Well, I'm glad y'all didn't go.
Yeah, I know. Me too. No, it's actually pretty wild how many. And I will say, I mean, as much as obsessed as I am with it, I'm not one of those guys that knows all the recruits and the ins and outs. I got some of my buddies.
Does.
Yeah, I mean, but think about we got Luke Bryan, Jason Aldean, Kane Brown, Thomas Rhett, Dave and I. I mean, it's an obsessive. We all kind of. Went to Georgia, grew up in Georgia, or whatever. I mean, the connection's amazing. We're all on the text chain, before games and texting and.
How's that go? What's that text chain? What is that? A lot of four letter words.
Oh yeah, especially during the game. Yeah, but it's just it's a fun connection and actually it was Aldean who I was on his bus when we went up to the game a few years back and lost, and on the ride back, oh my gosh, it was like we were so quiet on the ride back. We were so angry. But, It is. It's a fun connection to have with all those guys, and just proud to be from Georgia right now. Not only the Bulldogs, but you got the Braves.
Everybody.
I even took a little ownership of Stafford, in their win.
You're not alone.
I think the entire state did, brother. I think you're okay there. One thing that I've always wondered too, I imagine all three of y'all moved to Nashville with solo career aspirations. How did y'all get put together?
Yeah, it was, it was the most random. If I had to go back, you can't make up how random the moments are. I had graduated Georgia, and I really didn't play much music in college at all. I kind of just decided I was going to, that was a pipe dream, go and do the normal route, and, graduated with a finance degree. And I went and worked for a year up in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and just was so unhappy. It just didn't feel right. And, I was kind of pretty much just doing odds and ends of different things. And my brother Josh Kelley had a little success as an artist himself out in L.A., and he started going to Nashville to write songs. And he says, "Man, I'm going to move to Nashville." And I said, "Are you kidding?" I was like, "Well, that's pretty close. That's a lot closer than L.A." I said, "I'm going to come visit." And so I came and visited, and I just was like, "Man, can I live with you and just give this a shot? I'm so unhappy." And he could hear it in my voice, and he could, he was like, "Charles, you're freaking 23 years old. Take a chance." And I was like, "All right." So I packed up my stuff, moved to Nashville, and I was there, and Josh was like on tour a lot during that time, so I didn't really know anybody. And so I randomly called up Dave, who I'd grown up with, and he was in some other bands. And I said, "Man, I know you're in Atlanta." I said, "I don't really know anybody here in Nashville yet." I said, "Do you mind if I drive up to Atlanta every now and then, and we write some songs together?" And I did, like every weekend for a couple months. I did that, and he had this great job, this great like computer tech finance job, 401k, the whole thing. And so we start writing songs, and we start like they're pretty good. And I'm like, "Man, you got to move to Nashville. We got to do this thing." And I don't know what got into him. And because he's just not the kind of guy that takes crazy chances like that. And he just decided, shoot, I'm doing it. And he moved to Nashville. And about 4 months later, we were in a bar, or I was in a bar called 12th and Porter in Nashville. And Hillary was popping up and down singing with a group, cover songs. And I was like, "You're really good." And we were kind of, I thought I'd get a date out of it. She was a hot girl. We were kind of flirting. We were both single. And she comes over like a week later, and we start writing a song. And I think our third song we wrote was "Love Don't Live Here," which ended up being our first single. Wow. And everything just came together. And, it just, rest is kind of history, as they say.
Y'all were not put together. Y'all found each other.
Oh, yeah.
That is very rare.
Yeah, we found each other. Come to find out, Hillary had a little buzz in town and been working with a really great songwriter. So a lot of people kind of knew about her, but she had never gotten a record deal yet. And so I was like, let's just take a chance, and we'll just do this on the side. And it was pretty evident after the first few months, and we started doing some shows, and more people came. And I remember, by one of our last shows we had before we signed our deal, we had like 4 different labels there, and I didn't know who anybody was, so I wasn't nervous at all. But Hillary was like, terrified, and Dave and I come up there like, "Hey, it's just another show." And we were really lucky. In the beginning, everything just took off really fast for us, and only later looking back do you realize how rare that was, because I was like, "Oh, I guess this is just how it goes. This is it,"
Marty had a tweet earlier this week about the 3 best Southern rock songs, and I'm not going to put you on the spot right away. Going to give you a minute to think about it. Marty, what was your top 3? Simple Man.
I would rather, with Charles being born and raised in Georgia, I imagine he has his list already compiled at the ready. So
I don't know, man. I could give you 20. I could give you my top 20. Because the minute after I get done saying it, I'm going to think of 20 other ones. Man, Simple Man's got to be up there. I gotta say Midnight Rider.
It doesn't sound like he's locked it in yet, Marty. Let's hold your applause till he finalizes his answers here.
He already said number one.
Yeah,
I mean, that's all that we need to
know. Midnight Rider's got to be in there. I
said Freebird and Whipping Post.
Yeah, I mean Freebird. You gotta love Freebird, but again, it's just it's one of those. It's been overdone so much that you kind of almost like I'm trying to think of.
Tuesday's Gone.
Tuesday's Gone's in there, but I'm trying to make sure we don't.
Can't you see?
I want to make sure we don't. Yeah, I want to make sure I don't just go a whole bunch of Allman Brothers. I mean Southern Rock. I mean, gosh, you might want to throw some Doobie Brothers in there too. But Leonard Skinner, you got to get some Leonard Skinner in there. What is
CCR?
Yep. This is almost too hard. I mean,
it's impossible.
I know, because I was gonna say too, like Greg Allman's my hero, and I even love, I'm No Angel. I'm no angel. Yep. There's something just so cool about that song. Man, you'd have to give me some time. There's too many, honestly. I mean, that's what we grew up on. I mean, we grew up when we first started the band. I was talking to Hillary, and I was like, "Listen, I grew up on the Allman Brothers. I want to be a Southern rock man," and she was much more country and growing up on Reba, and I was like, okay. And we also had this huge R&B influence. Grew up playing a whole lot of the Commodores and Lionel, all that stuff. And so we did, that really was a part of our sound, was especially early on, was a little bit more of a Southern rock kind of pop, country sound. So, I mean, Southern rock was a huge influence for me.
You've done it all. What's left for you on the career accomplishment wish list?
Oh, man.
What would you like to do?
I mean, it would be... Gosh, I don't know. I mean, what would I like to do? Well, I want to win the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am at some point. I feel like, I would have said Grammys, but we were fortunate, especially, Need You Now was a, kind of reached us to that goal.
That's old hat now, bro.
I know, man. I mean, I guess I would say like the Country Music Hall of Fame. That would be pretty amazing. I mean,
congrats on the Opry, by the way.
Thank you. I was about to say we were lucky enough to get in, the Opry, and that was a huge moment. But I mean, just a few weeks ago, I hadn't been in years, and my mom and sister and her little girls came in town, and I took them, to the museum down here, and just walking through, I was like, gosh, it sure would be cool to be in here someday, as one of those, older iconic artists that everyone's looking at. And so, I mean, that would be a huge accomplishment. But I mean, not to sound cheesy, we've so far exceeded any expectations I've ever had. I mean, I think again, the biggest thing for me would be to see us still at 70 years old together and doing shows. I know we're not going to be doing 100 shows, then, but to be, or hell, we may all go broke and have to do 100 shows. But that would be a pretty amazing ultimate goal. That really would. But yeah, just to still have a fan base, 30, 40 years from now would be pretty amazing. Speaking
of the Opry, you guys are getting ready to do a couple shows at the Ryman. Share with us the details.
Yeah, we're going to kick off. This theater tour. We're trying to just do some stuff different. We've been doing the amphitheaters and arena runs, and I'm sure we'll pick back up with that next year. But we're doing a lot of fairs and festivals this summer. But we've always, every time we play the Ryman, anytime we play these venues, it's just the engagement with the fans is so much more intimate and close. And so we decided we were going to put together, a run in the fall. Usually we don't really tour much in the fall. And we said, after the summer's done, let's go do something that just feeds our soul. And so we're putting together this, we call it the Request Line Tour, where we'll even take requests from the audience. It's just going to be much more intimate. It's still going to have its high energy moments, but we're going to kick it off August 13th and 14th in Nashville at the Ryman. And, we're going to, all over the place, all these great iconic theaters like Fox Theater in Atlanta. And it's going to be different. And I think an experience that, hopefully our diehard fans will appreciate, because we haven't had those moments with them in a long time. It's always been in these giant venues, which is great, and I love it, and I love the energy of it. But there's nothing like sitting there and seeing the faces and seeing people actually sing up close and personal with you. So it's going to be a fun tour.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
How you gonna do when when somebody stands up and goes, "Hey, Charles, we want Baby Got Back."
Somebody's going to request Freebird on that
by
thing.
Bobby Brown. I can do what I want to do.
We'll try our best. But one thing that will be easy, if they say we want some Midnight Rider or something like that, we can throw that out there pretty quick. But listen, growing up in cover bands, that's what I love to do. That's what I grew up doing. We would do Friends in Low Places, then turn around and do, Boys to Men, then turn around and do, Nirvana. Anything. And Dave Haywood, I will say specifically, he's just a musical genius, and he's a songbook. He knows it all. And so we will allow ourselves to have those moments, I think. And I think some really fun, spontaneous moments with the crowd are going to come out of it. So I'm looking forward to it.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, you can expect Lady A to sing on Bended Knee in Council Bluffs, Iowa.
Close your eyes, make a wish.
That's it, man.
And go out.
Why does it sound so much different when Charles busts into random tune than when I do? Some of us have talent, some of us do not. Thank you, brother.
Thank you,
I love
buddy.
your spirit. I appreciate you. Have an awesome
Thanks,
day,
Charles.
man.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.